I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this, but here I am, spilling everything because I honestly don't know what else to do. My name's Mike, and I was with my wife Lisa for about 7 years. We had what I thought was a pretty solid marriage, at least on the surface. We'd go on vacations, have good times, argue here and there, but nothing out of the ordinary. But about a month ago, we finally took that long-awaited trip to Cancun. It was supposed to be our escape, a week to relax, reconnect, forget about work and daily stress. That's what I thought anyway. From the start, Lisa seemed a little different, more irritable, less interested in the usual things I'd do. She'd snap at me over small stuff, give these vague responses when I asked about her day. I chalked it up to her being stressed at work or just needing a break. But I also noticed she was hiding her phone a lot more. She'd get these weird messages, quickly hide her screen, and make excuses like she was just texting her boss or her sister. Honestly, I didn't think much of it at first. I figured maybe she was talking about work stuff, or maybe she was just secretive because she didn't want to deal with my nagging. Then things got really weird. One night I was trying to be cute and get her to relax, so I grabbed her phone to look at some photos. I know, bad move, trust me, I normally wouldn't do that. But I was just curious and I was feeling a little paranoid. That's when I saw a message from her boss, Mark, that said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. We need to talk." Nothing explicitly sexual, but the way it was phrased and the timing just didn't sit right with me. And the worst part, she responded with something like, "Me too, tonight's the night." I froze. I felt this cold rush of anger and confusion hit me like a freight train. I kept scrolling and I found dozens of texts, flirty, suggestive, explicit, stuff that you wouldn't say to a boss unless you were crossing some serious lines. There were pictures. She'd sent him a selfie in her lingerie, for crying out loud. My stomach dropped. All those times she was busy with work. All those. Late nights, the secretive texts, those weren't work emails. They were her secret affair. I wondered how I missed all this, how I could have missed it. I confronted her the next morning, my voice trembling, trying to hold it together. I threw the phone at her and told her what I found. Her reaction: she just looked at me with that typical bitchy smirk and shrugged. "So what if I did? You think I'm happy? You think I love the guy? This is just sex, Mike. It's nothing. You're overreacting." That's when I knew she was lying through her teeth. She always played the victim, even when she was caught red-handed. She made it sound like I was the one crazy for even questioning her, like I was just jealous or insecure. But I was. I was devastated, furious, and sickened all at once. It hit me hard. The betrayal wasn't just about the sex, though that alone crushed me. It was the lying, the deception. The fact that she'd been hiding this from me for months, maybe longer. That she'd been pretending to be pregnant, lying about her meetings, covering her tracks like some master manipulator. I felt like I did even know her anymore. I loved her, or thought I did, but now I was questioning everything. How much of our life was just a lie? How much of her was real? Honestly, that discovery changed everything. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept replaying those texts, trying to understand how she could be so cold, so selfish. I sat there, staring at her, trying to process that the woman I married was out there screwing her boss, probably right under my nose, while I was out trying to make her happy. I kept asking myself, how did I get here? And more than anything, I wondered what I was supposed to do next. The next few days were a blur. I didn't even bother pretending I was okay. I'd wake up with that sick feeling in my stomach, knowing she was probably still lying to my face. Lisa, of course, acted like nothing had changed. She'd throw on that bitchy smirk, throw her hair over her shoulder, and act like I was the one overreacting. Every single time I looked at her, I saw that smug expression and heard her dismissive tone whenever I accused her. It was like she thought she could just brush everything under the rug, like her betrayal was somehow insignificant. But I wasn't stupid. I knew better. I started digging, trying to find out how long this had been going on. Hidden credit card charges, hotel receipts, missed calls. I found some hotel booking confirmations that she hadn't mentioned, which were, of course, paid for with her credit card. I even found some more explicit messages, more selfies, more flirtatious talk on her secret social media account, which she'd apparently set up just for Mark. I was furious, disgusted, and feeling more betrayed every minute. How could she do this? How could she lie about everything? Her pregnancy, her supposed illness, her supposed work trips. It was all a game, and I was the fool who played along. One day, I decided enough was enough. I needed to confront her again, and this time I was ready to demand answers. I sat her down in the living room, my hands trembling, voice steady but cold. I asked for the truth, how long this had been going on, what she felt for him, whether she still loved me at all. Her reaction: she flipped her hair, rolled her eyes, and started throwing out excuses faster than I could keep up. She told me she was confused, that Mark was just a fling, that she never loved him. She even had the nerve to say, "You're just insecure, Mike. You don't understand what I need, what I want. Maybe if you were better in bed, I wouldn't have to cheat." That was the moment I saw her for what she really was, an entitled, manipulative bitch who thought she could walk all over me. I felt my blood boil. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to shake some sense into her. But I just sat there, watching her lie with that cruel smirk. I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. This was a disaster. The woman I loved, the woman I married, had been using me as a cover-up for her own selfish, fucked-up game. All my efforts to make her happy, to build a life together, that was just a fucking facade. She'd been cheating on me, lying about her pregnancy, and I had no idea how to even process that level of betrayal. I felt like my whole world was crumbling, and I honestly didn't know if I'd ever recover from this. That night I couldn't sleep. I stayed up, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what I should do. Part of me wanted to just leave, forget her, move on. But another part, the stupid part that still loved her, wanted answers, wanted to understand why she did this, why she threw everything away for some meaningless sex. I kept asking myself if I'd missed signs, if I'd failed somehow to see the truth. The truth was staring me right in the face, but I'd been blind. Blinded by love, by hope, by the idea that maybe, just maybe, things could be fixed. And that's when I decided I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I wanted revenge, not just to hurt her, but to make her feel what I was feeling: betrayed, used, humiliated. I didn't know yet how exactly I'd do it, but I knew I'd have to plan carefully. Because if she thought she could lie, cheat, and walk all over me, then she was dead wrong. I'd make her regret ever crossing that line with Mark, and I'd make damn sure she knew I was done being the naive, forgiving husband she thought she could manipulate. Over the next few days, I sank deeper into planning. Every time I thought about her, that smug smirk on her face, and how she dismissed everything like it was nothing, I felt this burning need for payback. I started gathering evidence, screenshots of the texts, hotel bookings, even a few voice recordings where she slipped up and mentioned Mark's name. I wanted to be ready, cold and calculated, because I knew Lisa. She was manipulative, and if I didn't come prepared, she'd turn it around on me again. I also kept an eye on her habits, watching her routines, trying to figure out her next move. She'd go out shopping, or say she was meeting her friend for lunch, but I knew better now. I knew she was sneaking around, meeting Mark, probably at some hotel or her boss's place. I caught her more than once texting in her car, quick and secretive. Every little thing she did confirmed what I already knew. This wasn't some moment of weakness or a drunken mistake. This was her entire life now, a lie, a game. And I was just collateral damage. My mind kept circling back to the moment I saw those texts, that lingerie selfie, the hotel receipts, everything. It was like a punch to the gut every time. But I also felt this strange clarity, like I was finally seeing her for who she really was. She lied about being pregnant, lied about her illness, lied about her work trips. All of it was just another way to cover her ass, to keep me in the dark while she played her stupid game. Honestly, I felt sick. When I thought about the fact she'd been pretending to be pregnant to hide her affair, the rage boiled inside me. She'd used that as a tool, like some sick fucking cover-up, just to keep me close while she fucked around behind my back. I remember sitting in my apartment, staring at my phone, trying to decide what to do next. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time I wanted to catch her in the act, or at least have enough evidence to shame her. I had to make her realize I wasn't some naive fool anymore, that I'd uncovered everything, and I wasn't going to be played anymore. I thought about going to her job, exposing her affair to her coworkers, making her feel exposed and humiliated just like she'd made me feel. I never wanted to hurt her physically, but I wanted her to see she couldn't get away with this without consequences. But deep down, I knew whatever I did, I'd be crossing a line I couldn't come back from. Still, I felt like I was already on the edge. Every time she lied, every time she sneered at me, I could feel my patience wearing thin. I kept asking myself, how did I let it get this far? How did I not see the signs earlier? The whole thing felt like a nightmare I was stuck in, and I was just trying to wake up. But no matter how I tried to make sense of it, one thing was clear. Lisa had become someone I didn't recognize. She was a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, and I was damn sure I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Not without a fight. I decided I needed a plan, a way to confront her that would hit her where it hurt, make her see that I was done playing her game. I knew I'd have to be smart. She always loved to spin things her way to make herself the victim. But this time, I'd have the evidence. I'd show her that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. Because if she thought she could lie to me and cheat on me and get away with it, she had another thing coming. The day I finally decided to execute my plan, I felt a mixture of adrenaline and pure rage. I'd spent so many restless nights mapping out what I was going to do, and now it was all coming together. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some naive fool anymore, that I knew exactly what she'd been up to, and I wasn't going to let her brush it off like it was nothing. I set everything up carefully. I had a friend help me, someone I trusted, to record her, just in case she tried to deny anything, and I made sure I had all the evidence organized and ready to be presented. That evening she was acting even more bitchy than usual. She was sneering, throwing attitude and trying to brush me off whenever I tried to talk seriously. I could see she was trying to act like everything was fine, like I was the crazy one for even bringing up her lies. She kept saying, "You're overreacting, Mike. You always blow things out of proportion." That smirk, that dismissiveness, fuck, it made me want to tear her apart. I waited until she was alone in the living room. I pulled out my phone, played the recordings, and laid out the evidence I'd gathered. I told her I knew everything about Mark, about the hotel, about the selfies, everything, her reaction. A flicker of panic flashed across her face, but she quickly regained her composure. She started with the typical bullshit. "You're crazy. You're imagining things. I don't know what you're talking about." But I just kept going, showing her the texts, the receipts, the pictures. I told her I wasn't interested in her excuses. I wanted her to understand that this was the end. Her eyes widened, and for a split second she looked genuinely scared. Then she snapped, "You're just jealous. You're insecure. I'm not the one who's got issues, Mike. You're the one who can't handle a little sex. It's just sex, and I'm allowed to have fun." I couldn't believe her. She was trying to gaslight me like I was the one in the wrong for catching her. Her voice was dripping with contempt, like I was some obstacle in her perfect little game. I felt something inside me shift. All the anger, all the betrayal, it boiled over. I told her she was a selfish, manipulative bitch. She'd lied about everything, about being pregnant, about her supposed illness, about her work trips. I told her she'd used me like some pawn and I was done being played. That's when I saw her try to spin it, trying to cry, trying to make me feel guilty. But I just looked at her and said, "You're a liar, Lisa. You're nothing but a cheat, and I want out of this mess." Honestly, I didn't even feel much relief in that moment. Just emptiness, like I'd been punched in the gut one last time. She kept pleading, throwing her usual tantrum, but I wasn't listening anymore. I had made up my mind. I told her she could leave, that I didn't want to see her face again until she figured out what she truly wanted, whether it was her pathetic games or whatever was left of our marriage. She stormed out, calling me crazy, insecure, and jealous, but I didn't care. The damage was done. That night I was alone, staring at the ceiling again. Part of me felt broken, like I'd lost everything I ever wanted with her, but another part of me felt free. Free from the lies, from the betrayal, from a woman who thought she could manipulate and cheat her way out of her problems. I knew it was going to be a long road ahead, figuring out what to do next. But for now, I just wanted to breathe. I wanted to feel like I was finally in control of my life again. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning of something new, something better, even if it didn't feel like it right now. The days that followed were some of the hardest I've ever experienced. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, trying to piece myself back together after everything she'd done. Part of me kept replaying her words, her smirk, the way she dismissed everything like it was just a game she could walk away from. I couldn't believe I'd been blind for so long, believing her lies, making excuses for her bullshit. But now, seeing her reaction and confronting her with the truth, I realized I'd been a fool. I started to focus on myself, although honestly it was difficult. Every corner I turned, every moment of silence, I'd remember what she'd done. The betrayal hit me hard, more than I thought it would. It wasn't just about the affair, but the complete loss of trust. I used to think we had something real, something worth fighting for. But now I saw that she'd been using me as a cover-up for her own selfish needs. She'd lied about being pregnant, lied about her illness, lied about everything. It was like she'd built this entire fake life to hide her true self. I started looking into the legal side of things, what I could do, what rights I had. I knew I couldn't just walk away without consequences. I also knew I didn't want to be part of her twisted game anymore. I decided I needed to leave the house, get some space to think clearly. I told her I was filing for divorce, that I wanted nothing to do with her anymore. Her reaction: she threw a tantrum, crying, screaming, calling me heartless and crazy, but I didn't care anymore. She'd lost that right. The thing that hurt most was the feeling that I'd wasted so much time. Years, honestly. Building a life, a future, a family, if you could call it that. Because now I saw that the person I married was nothing but an illusion. She was a cheater, a liar, a manipulator, and I'd been stupid enough to believe in her. I realized that her constant lies, her fake pregnancy, her secret meetings, they weren't just mistakes. They were who she was, and I had to accept that I wasn't going to fix her no matter how much I wanted to. The process of separating was brutal. She fought me on the divorce, trying to guilt me into staying, saying she'd change, that she loved me. But I knew better. Love isn't built on lies and betrayal. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't see what she really was. The more she begged and pleaded, the more I saw her for what she was, someone who cheated, lied, and played games with my heart. I knew I had to get out for my own sanity. I started planning my future without her, slowly rebuilding what I lost. Looking back, I've learned some hard lessons. Trust is fragile, and I'll never be that naive again. I should have seen the signs, should have listened to that little voice that told me she was hiding something. But I also learned that sometimes you've got to cut your losses, no matter how much it hurts. Because staying would have only meant more pain, more lies, more betrayal. I guess the biggest takeaway is this: never ignore the red flags and never let someone manipulate your love into something toxic. I thought I was in a good marriage, but it was a carefully constructed lie. Now I'm trying to pick up the pieces and move on, better, stronger, and more cautious than ever before. And honestly, it's a long road ahead, but I'm done with her games. The sooner I get through this, the better. Because I deserve someone who values honesty, respect, and real love, not someone who treats me like a pawn in her sick little game. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize that the pain has started to fade a little, replaced by a cold sense of clarity. I won't lie. I still think about her sometimes, about what could have been, but it's no longer the obsession it was. I've come to accept that she's not who I thought she was. She was never really interested in us or in building something real. She was just playing a game, and I was too blind to see it until it was too late. What I've learned through all this is that betrayal cuts deep, but it also reveals who people truly are. Sometimes, you have to lose something precious to realize your own worth. I've had to rebuild my sense of self from the ground up, but I know now that I'm better off without her. I don't need someone who lies and manipulates to feel validated. I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who values me for who I am, not for some fantasy she's created to hide her lies. In the end, I'm grateful I found out when I did. It hurt like hell at first, but I can see clearly now. The trust's broken, sure, but I'm learning to trust myself again. Moving on isn't easy, and I won't pretend I've got it all figured out, but I'm ready. Ready to leave that chapter behind, to focus on healing and to build a new life, one based on honesty, respect, and real connection. To anyone else going through something similar, I'll say this: don't ignore the signs. Don't make excuses for someone who's cheating or lying to you. And most importantly, don't stay just because it's comfortable or familiar. Love should never feel like a trap or a game, and your worth isn't determined by someone else's betrayal. Sometimes the hardest choice is the right one. Trust me, you'll come out stronger on the other side, even if it takes time.